All right, in this War of Rights map briefing, we're going to take a look at Burnside Bridge, like Dunker Church, and some of the others. This is one of the more iconic maps because it has the bridge, right? And there she is. This is a Union attacking map. It is one where the attackers, because they have to go over this bottleneck that is that bridge, they do have a tickets advantage. It's also one that the Union, I think, frequently wins. And so we'll take a look at why that is. In terms of the arty on this map, I would say, even if the numbers are on the CSA side, I think that the artillery distribution is fair on this map. So the Union gets this 4-gun battery, and that's what they get, unless they Grand Theft arty something from the CSA. But even though they're relatively small in number, they have really good sights on a lot of where the fighting goes on. And so good Union gunners know what to do, know where to shoot, all that other stuff, and they can ration their ammo. We'll take a look at the CSA arty situation. I think CSA arty can do a lot more on this map than it normally does. Oh well. But here we see the CSA. They have two kind of sister batteries, both 4 guns, so they do have twice as much as the Union, although it usually feels like Union artillery is more decisive than the CSA. And it has to do with where they're going to spawn. So unless they make it up to this fence, it's hard for them to have angles on a whole lot. Again, there are exceptions to everything in War of Rights, and you can make a lot of things work in at least some cases in War of Rights. But a lot of times it involves an investment of time in order to get this already up and working. But I think it can work, and I think it can matter, though not usually in the way that a lot of people use it. But maybe we'll leave artillery for later because we want to talk about the Union attack strat. So it's a push over the bridge, and then it's the usual right, left. Early on, it's usually not a center push, although you know, the Union could try it. But usually what the Union does is they run across, and they've hopefully already decided, are they going right or are they going left? If they go right, they're going to swing over here, they're going to cut back, and then they're going to hug the water line here. And they're going to get in here because this times out for the CSA. It's a lot of concealment. It's quite a bit of cover. And once you get your flags in here, yeah, you'll usually take a beating coming across the bridge because there's no cover coming in. And there's no cover on it. You got to run to your cover on the back end. Sometimes I've seen that this seems not to be the case so much in pub or organized play so much. Sometimes the Union, we get down here on their stonewall and trade volleys. That always feels like it's something that probably nets an advantage to the CSA because it's just going to burn off more time than it's worth in the ticket trade. Yeah, you're well protected, but as the attackers, it's not about being well protected, it's about getting over there and knocking down the defender's tickets. So the Union can push that right side. They can get pretty far over here on the right side. Let me just see. Yeah, that bend is not part of the map. So they do time out over here, and then they can push up to this fence if they want to, right, once they get their numbers. And the nice thing about being back here in all that concealment is that the CSA never knows exactly where you're going to pop up, and so the Union, when they get together and they're ready to move, they can make those quick pushes. They can push up to those rocks, and sometimes they extend this and they make a mad dash, hugging. This is just about the map boundary. Make a mad dash for this area over here, this other stone wall. If you're familiar with the Otto and Sherrick map, right? The farm is right over there, so that's where we are on the battlefield. But they get in here, and then it's very costly for the CSA to retake. Even if the CSA wants to, the Union gets in this fence here. They at least have soft cover. If they got those fence posts and, you know, they're hard to hit, it could feel like hard cover. So that is one shot. This is sometimes referred to as a kind of fort. It's actually just a field with a wooden fence around it and a stone wall over there, but that is what it is. That's the right side push. The left side push coming off the bridge. It's almost the same thing in reverse. Go down here, again, hugging the water line here. The Union can push a ways around. And again, as long as your flags are up, so you want to send the flags at least in the middle of the pack in case they get dropped. The people in the back of the pack, people in the front of the pack are probably going to get shot. Those in the middle may also get shot, and then those in the back can get the flags up. The CSA will time out in here, but the CSA can also make limited forays in here. And I would say the CSA has got to make a decision. Either you go all in to knock those flags down, and then try to get out. And it might even be worth it to buy yourself some time, just send some folks in there and make sure that you completely wipe it. But if the Union get over in large numbers and they're able to beat off any sort of CSA counterattacks, now they're in. They have the beachhead, and it's going to be a tall order for the CSA to do something about it. But what the CSA can always do is they can always pull back. Now, from here, the Union can continue to wrap the left, just like they can wrap really far on the right. They can wrap the left. They can move up these hills. Where's that rock pile? Is that it? No, that's not it. There is a pile of rocks around here. I'm sure of it. But anyways, maybe it's this, and I just think it's bigger. But you move up the hill, right? That's going to give you hard cover. It's going to give you concealment. And we're looking back at the point of contention now. I haven't talked about the point of contention yet. I'm getting there. They can also move on the reverse of this hill. They can get it all the way back here. They can get up into this fence. They can move up along the fence. By the way, back there down that road, past that log pile, and I think there's just a little tiny hill there. The CSA spawn is back there. And so they can push very far back. I would say that this is pretty deep behind the point of contention, which is back over there. They can then push through here. They can get into Union artillery. They get into CSA artillery, and they can wipe anybody skirmishing out of line on that artillery. So they can run havoc there, or they can run back and they can seize this side of the kind of field fort, field fence, whatever it is you want to call it. So those are the really wide pushes. There actually is a viable straight push if you can get over here and you can make sure that you're not getting shot from both the right and the left. This little embankment here, particularly in the late game, you'll see the Union frequently, they'll pile up here, they'll get their flags in, they'll spawn people in, because as is always the case, I try to say in all these videos, attackers, you don't want to lose your flags. You don't want to lose your flags, particularly on this map. It's a long run. You don't want to be crossing that bridge too many times. Attackers' tickets only ever go down. So try to keep those flags up, but spawn people in safety, and then the Union will kind of creep over here. And now we're coming up to the point of contention. There's this backside. So the CSA, it might be standing in its fort with great soft cover and all that other stuff, but they can't shoot the Union. And the Union is getting free real estate, getting closer and closer to that point of contention. And then it's pretty much this rock pile that is sometimes known as cap rocks. Again, you're in there, you hit T, it says defending, it says capturing. That means you're on the point. If it doesn't, you're not, but that is what it is. And so they'll rush into those rocks, and then they'll start capping, and then the CSA usually will have to leave that stone wall fort in order to come out. Sometimes what the Union will do, again, if they're organized in here and they're pretty well grouped up, they'll have one group come up, they'll shoot it, shoot, capture. The CSA charges out, then the Union will pull back, and they have another group or two that are waiting to step up, volley, and to contest that rocks, and just make it a very bloody affair. The Union flags can sit on the reverse of this hill right here. They were spawning people in just a moment ago down there, and they'll just be spawning folks in the entire time. As long as the Union has some supporting group here on the left, and probably some group watching the right. It might actually be a company over here watching the right, but they're fairly close to each other, and they can support each other, and they can make sure that they don't get defeated in detail. This can be a very hairy situation for the CSA defenders. So. Anyways, that's the general Union approach. What does the CSA do? Frequently, the CSA starts out the map usually by finding some set of trees that gives them an angle on the bridge, but it's not like directly in front of the Union artillery, because what the Union artillery can do, first of all, they can usually just see right across whoever's defending above the bridge, and they're just going to bomb whoever's here. So if you're standing out in the sun, because you're like, oh, I can't wait to shoot somebody coming across that bridge, you may well get blown up. The rank and file and arty can just hit T. They can see the point. They can aim a gun up for the point of contention. And when they see the CSA is on it, it's usually a safe bet to just bomb point. Otherwise, their officers are going to look for flags. Having played Union Army on this map, we will see flags lots of times that, you would think is the CSA, that they're visible. They're trying to hide behind trees or shrubs. You can still see them, and they'll get their guns pointed in the right direction. And then they're shooting into the face of this hill. And so it really does not afford the defenders too much of an advantage. Whoops. That was fun. Sometimes the CSA will come down in these rocks. They'll come down to the fence just to try to get away from the Union artillery. It's understandable, but the lower they go and the further they go, the less good options they have here. What the CSA really need to do is they need to hit their shots on groups that are coming off that bridge, and then they need to know in advance, are you going to go all in melee any of the survivors who get across? The worst thing you're going to do is go in piecemeal, then you're probably going to die out of formation, and you're probably not going to get the critical mass you need to win. So, you know, a middling plan, well executed, is going to be better than a bunch of really great ideas that end up with everybody doing what they want. So they'll send some groups left. CSA knows that there's also the right side push. So they usually have to hedge, and they'll put some groups over here who are trying to do the same thing, but on the right side, and it's the same situation. So I think that the Union has the advantage if they decide, and I see them in pubs a lot, they're making a decision all right, all left, and that means that the CSA are frequently running. The half that was on the unimportant side is running rather than shooting, and that's usually an advantage for attackers. So if the Union get across, or when the Union get across is more likely the case, I think the CSA tends to panic and think they have to wipe them right away. That's not true. The point of contention is here, and time is working against the attackers. Right? It's tickets that work against the defenders. It's generally time that works against the attackers. There aren't a lot of great places to pull back on this side of the CSA right. So it's the Union left push, but it's the CSA right. Until you get back to either the hill, the rocks, or the fence over here, which gives you a little bit of cover, and it limits what the USA can do in terms of flanking you. Though you are far away from the point of contention, you can't really support it, and that's why the Union or the CSA so frequently go to this fort. It's near point, and you expect the Union to have to come here. One thing I do not understand about this map, or the way people play it, is that the Union takes this fort, and the CSA treats this like this is the worst thing that has ever happened, and they will throw everybody at this fort until they go breaking, probably last stand, and then the Union waltz in and cap. This is not cap. This is not even close to cap. It doesn't even, because of the fences and slight undulations in the terrain, it's not even great to shoot into cap. The CSA, if they already knows what they're doing, I always try to keep a gun or two back rather than rolling one up to deal with that. And then you just start, you can roll a gun up with canister, and then you can roll others back that have shell or case, and you can just pound that. Oh, by the way, the Union can charge back to this white barn. Now, those doors and pretty much all doors, I guess, they all open as the CSA. The CSA can garrison this, and they can shoot at the Union. It's largely going to be a pillow fight, but as the CSA defenders, who seem to struggle on this map, again, this map, why there are so many out of lines when it's mostly moving in the woods up there, I think it's a lot of lateral movement. People just get lost. They think for some reason it's faster to spawn main and run. It almost never is, unless you've managed to lose your flags as the CSA on this side of the bridge. But if the Union gets over here, let them have it. You can always try to... The Union might get fed up with getting plinked from over here, and they may charge. That's fine. Remember, you can always pull back. The Union can get in there and wipe you, though, or come down close to it. You got to be aware of that and already. And so you got to know your retreat path. Your retreat path is this way towards spawn, and then the Union will have wasted time in charging you, not getting you, or paying a heavy ticket toll on the way in, and then not getting you. And it's left in no better position than it was before. And what it has done is it's given up the fort for free. It may have actually given up the fort for tickets, and now they have to either run back to it, or they run the risk that they're going to get surrounded, wiped, and lose their flags in the barn. And if that happens, what the CSA needs to know is that there's now 1 or 2 companies that are offline, and they now have to start getting everybody together. They got about a 5-minute window to start concentrating and wiping all the other Union groups that are over here, and the other Union groups need to know that that's coming if it is. So... Don't be afraid to play cap recap on this. Yet again, I'm playing this map in pubs quite a bit. The CSA goes down early. They don't really know what to do, and they just keep losing. You can pull back. The CSA can full pull back so the Union can't hit them. Force the Union cap early with the tickets advantage. Then you're playing with the Union's tickets as the defender. And I think you have a much better chance of winning. You may still lose, but you have a much better chance of winning in that situation than you do in others. And it is weird and different in pub play. I don't know that others talk about this, but you know, folks who just spawn in on your side and they just Rambo right into the enemy lines, you kind of wonder, you kind of wonder if they're actually playing on your team or if they're on the other team and they don't want to have to cap early, and so they're just taking. Well, I'm getting far away from the map briefing, so I'll stop that. But I think cap recap is a viable strategy, and it takes only a little bit of time in the longer scheme of things to roll a bunch of CSA guns up here. Now, you can get the ranges for these in Union Arty if you practice. You can hit these positions from the Union Artillery as long as you can thread the needle between the trees. But with CSA already up here, you have excellent sight lines, and you can bomb the areas around point for when the Union have to come to it. A lot of times what the CSA does, because it looks cool, it does look cool, I will give them that, is that they will roll a gun up to just about, this is like the worst idea. They roll a gun up to Cap Rocks, so the Union already doesn't even have to be able to see it. They just have to know where Cap Rocks is, and here there's a gun near it. And then they're just going to shoot it with 4 guns, and it's going to take like 20-25 minutes and a bunch of guys to move a gun in a caisson up here anyways, and they're just trying to bomb the middle of that bridge. And of course what the Union can do then is just string out its attack a little bit if it knows it's coming, or just eat it if you have to take its advantage and move. I think that's a mistake. It's also easy for then the Union artillery to run across the bridge, and if you're the Union holding cap, you can actually Grand Theft Artillery that gun that the other side just spent 20 minutes moving up. I think it's far safer as a CSA to get a gun line up here. It's on relative high ground looking down on point. It also provides a little bit of cover for the fort. I've never seen the Union Grand Theft Arty a gun away and keep it from taking the fort, so I'm not worried about that as the CSA Arty. But that can be an X factor that can help a lot in that late game. If the tickets are close, it's probably going to involve playing cap recap in order to do it. But that is one of those late game payoffs that I think could be there for the defenders. All right, this was a non-brief briefing for Burnside's Bridge. I think I've exhausted it. I do like the map. A little frustrated with the way it plays, but those are some things to think about.